Hey all, here OS Reviews. You're watching our hands-on review of the Anni 360-degree panoramic wireless IP security camera. It sells for about $40. You can find it in the links down below, and it's meant as a competitor to pan and tilt security cameras that has a motor that you can physically spin along its base to have a lot better view of the entire room. With something like this, it has an extreme fisheye lens, and basically you mount it onto the ceiling of a room, and it's able to capture the entire room within one field of view. You aren't able to pan and tilt or move around yourself, but you're able to effectively see everything within the peripheral vision of the lens. Like most security cameras, it connects using Wi-Fi, and you can use a companion app on iOS or Android to monitor as well as view back videos and images taken by the camera. It offers traditional features such as motion detection, alarms, triggers, things like that, and there's also sirens that you can, and speakers that you can use to activate, to talk to people inside the room, to warn people, things like that. This is the 360-degree view, and this is the 3D view where it takes the image and slices it into a better representation. We've plugged it into power, and it does have voice prompts. So when you first turn it on, it's going to say connecting to Wi-Fi, ready, and afterwards you can start binding it using the app. So if I move this off to the side and take a look at the interface here, it's actually quite simple. I can add a device just by tapping over here, and it gives you a few different options. Smart Link, AP, you can also scan by QR code or search locally to see if it has a Wi-Fi signal from the device. So how I set it up, we've plugged it into power, and the camera itself does have voice prompts, so it will actually say things like connecting to Wi-Fi, ready to configure, connected, things like that along the way to guide you and assist you. So don't be alarmed if you hear it talking to you as you are setting it up. The app itself is a generic app, but it actually works quite well. I can tap on plus to find the device. You can use a few different ways, either searching locally or using SmartLink or AP. I found the local search to be most effective. Basically, I tapped on local search, and it found the Wi-Fi route network information sent by the camera, and I connected to the camera using the default password 1234567 and after I connected to the camera, I then entered my Wi-Fi information for the router, and it proceeded to connect without any faults. Using the SmartLink and AP, I tried it before, but it didn't seem to work quite as well, so that was just my personal testing experience. Here is the device list. You can add multiple cameras as they pop along. This one here has a pretty kind of generic name, but you can see this is what the last image was, and you can see that it's currently online and connected to Wi-Fi successfully. So if I tap on this, it's going to buffer for a few seconds and then pop up. As you can see here, like most security cameras, there is a slight latency lag. So as you can see here, it's not going to be completely real time, but close enough and works quite well. There is a very nice it claims to also have nighttime video recording, so it does have IR bulbs integrated onto these particular points, so it captures monochrome black and white images at night. And again, there is a microphone for detection, motion detection, has a cloud service as well that you can use to monitor your video files. Inside here, we have just the instruction manual right on top that documents how to set up the app as well as connect it onto the ceiling. And on here, we have just the 360 camera itself. Technically, though, it's not really 360 degrees like a real spherical VR cam designed for phones. It's basically 180 degrees if you think about it. But since the other 180 is pointing at the ceiling, you're not going to be able to use it or really want to access it anyways. So it's basically a 180-degree lens, but still works quite well. This is the mounting screws, and in terms of the receiver here, it is actually using USB Type-C. So it's a very modern type of connector that they're using for the camera. Has a very long cable. Since it will be connected from the ceiling, you do need a longer cable than usual to set it up. Taking a look at the camera itself, we can see it is made out of plastic. It doesn't feel too cheap, however, and on the back there is a reset pin along with a slot for the micro SD card slot and the USB Type-C to provide power. It does not have a built-in battery, just like most of these security cameras, so if the power goes out, then it's not going to continue recording video footage. On the side here, there's also a QR code that you basically scan with your phone to add it to the app and bind it onto your profile. And on the surface here, we have just the lens, which again has a very distorted fisheye effect. We have the speakers, also microphones, and the IR sensors. We've plugged it into power, and The camera itself does have voice prompts, so it will actually say things like connecting to Wi-Fi, ready to configure, connected, things like that along the way to guide you and assist you. So don't be alarmed if you hear it talking to you as you are setting it up. The app itself is a generic app, but it actually works quite well. I can tap on plus to find the device. You can use a few different ways, either searching locally or using SmartLink or AP. I found the local search to be most effective. The interface does give us this very kind of distorted fisheye-like effect, but it allows us to see 180 degrees of what the camera lens is seeing, and you can tell that colors as well as details are actually pretty good. This is actually a 1080p Full HD camera as far as the sensor is concerned, around 2 megapixels. So as far as security cams go, it's actually pretty decent as far as the quality is concerned, as you can see here. I can actually pan the image around by moving it, so I can spin it 360 degrees to get a closer idea. This bar of light is just a lamp that we're using for this particular desk setup. I can also zoom on in using pinch to zoom gestures, and it has a slight jump from standard resolution to full HD, as you can see here, to give me a little bit more details. Down below here, there's also the timestamp information, so you can start recording footage as well as check back on various past recordings to see if there's any data available. We actually didn't record anything back then, so there's no data from that particular stamp, but it gives me a pretty easy interface to scrub back and forth between different parts and times of the day. From here, I can pause a video recording, begin it again, I can start recording, I can also use the microphone. So as a quick test, hello, this is a test. You can definitely hear a little bit crackling in the speaker, so definitely not the best audio quality in the world, but it is functional. From here, I can also start taking an image just by snapping it. It takes a screenshot and saves it to your phone's built-in memory, but if you want to look at video, it is stored only on the camera, so you have to access the micro SD card, or you have to take a look at the cloud recordings. It's only the photos that are stored onto your device that you're looking at. From here, I can also mute the sound as well as turn on sound-activated recording, things like that. On the top here, I can tap on settings to change things like the video settings, changing the frame rate, resolution. Right now it's at 3 megapixels, 15 frames per second, and I can also change the recording settings so that it records for 10-minute intervals when sound or motion is detected, as well as changing the time and date information, alarm settings, things like that. And this indeed gives me this slightly flatter visualization, so it's not quite as distorted, where I can just go back and forth in this 3D-like view to see everything without that really fisheye lens effect. So this is another visualization that you can play around with that works quite well. Over here, I can change also to a different view. This is a flat view, it seems like. So if I tap on this once again, this will lie it flat into 2 images segmented, as opposed to one round image that you see here, as well as a different mode that allows me to see it in 4 quadrants, also flat, so it tries to take away the distortion a little bit more. And once more into this also split screen view that gives me all the various visualizations at once. Back in the main menu, we can tap on the bar over here to take a look at local albums. So this is going to give me footage of images I've stored locally on my phone that I can take a look at. So if I view this particular photo, you can see this is what it's like. It does have this fisheye-like spherical shape onto the outer edges, but I can make out the camera, I can make out my finger, as well as everything in the ceiling within this one frame without any problems. And over here I can also take a look at videos as they're stored from the camera, so that takes a little bit longer to buffer, but you can still access it from the app. Over here, this is the exemptions and alarms, so it's going to give you messages and notifications if motion or sound has been detected, and some other sample shots in various positions. Now we're not just flat, but we're looking at this entire desk space. This is not going to be the ideal setup. Again, the ideal setup is from a ceiling, so you can see the entire room all at once, and we'll show you that in a moment, but you can see that the phone is perfectly in view without any issues. If I also try to bring this into a darker environment, it will activate the IR lights automatically, hopefully, and it will transition into a black and white view, as you can see here, but it remains actually pretty visible. All the surroundings, the cables for the computers are fully in view. And here's another view of the entire room this time, where we can easily pan around to take a look at the full image without too many problems. It's not perfect in every setup, especially if you don't want to mount something on your ceiling and you want it to be pointing at a door or something, then you actually might do better with a regular camera, just because it can be a little bit confusing to pan around using the really wide angle fisheye-like effect. If you have it pointing downwards at people, such as people walking by maybe a door or something, it's not going to capture their faces quite as well, since it's really just capturing the top of their heads if it's on a ceiling. So that's something to consider and keep in mind. But otherwise, a very clever security camera that offers an interesting alternative. So if you're interested, you can check out more details in in the description below. But for now, this has been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews.